Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting to order, if I may. I'd like to start with a acknowledgement with respect that we're meeting on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen speaking peoples, and we are honored to have the opportunity to build strong working relationships with the people of the Songhees and Kasapsu nations. I would ask for approval of the agenda. Do we have a quorum, I guess is the first question. We have a quorum. Thank you. So ask for approval of the agenda. We'll move seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? There, it's easier. The agenda is adopted. Any additions or deletions from the agenda? Hearing none, we'll proceed. The agenda is adopted. I'd like to move for adoption of the Heritage Commission meeting minutes from November 14th, 2024. We'll move. Seconded. Any opposed, if any? Here we are. Thank you for the minutes. Public participation. Do we have any members of the public here today? We should be offering pizza and cookies. Yeah. Here, none. Activity reports from members. Any members have an activity to report? Hearing none, we'll proceed on. Oops. We might. I'm sorry. My apologies. Yes, there we are. My apologies. Oops.
Sorry. I want to report that my client at Craigdare Castle, which is a National Historic Site, has just promoted Jenny Seaman to the position of curator.
There we are. There we are. Okay, so now we have new business from Yazmin Hernandez.
Yes. Good afternoon, members of the Heritage Commission. It has been a while since the commission met last November, and there's a few changes that we want you to be aware of in terms of staff and how we are supporting the work of the commission. So there has been some changes to the planning department, and you are very familiar with the role Ian Borgel took leading this commission. The city parted ways with Ian Borgel earlier this year on April 10th. And the support and work of the commission continues to be entrusted to a planning department that is now comprised of policy planners as well as development planners. So it's a larger complement of staff, but it's existing employees of Colwood just in a different configuration. And we're very thankful for Ian and all the work that he did for the city of Colwood and many years of dedication. And we're hoping to take forward the commission in a way that further supports their function. To be able to do that, we have asked Matt Blakely, who is a senior planner, to be the liaison with the committee so that the commission can have a direct contact with a staff member within the planning team to elevate concerns, commentary, and have almost like an advocate within the planning team to speak to those concerns in our group setting and internally. So we've set up those types of liaison functions within the rest of the planning team. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about that. It is just realigning existing resources of the city and utilizing planning staff in a way that helps us serve the broader delivery of planning, both in development as well as policy work. And Matt sends his regrets. He is on vacation, so he's not able to join us here tonight. So that's the reason he's not here today. This was his presentation, but he's away. So as I said, the role of the liaison is primarily to support, be your primary contact, and lead the development of policy work related to heritage. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The question I have is, see when we're Matt as the liaison with Heritage, and then the little arrow draws across Desiree Givens, is that if the project is big enough, does that mean that support goes straight across or just everyone contributes?
I mean, I would say like we work very much as a team and we all contribute. I would say Desiree has been certainly instrumental in the dairy building conversation through the development side of things. And so I would say we support each other's work,
Sure.
but we are appointing kind of portfolios to each planner so that we can have someone with an interest in a specific area of interest that can be elevating items of importance to the specific commissions and committees that the city supports. So it's just trying to keep us a little bit more up to date and sharing the load.
Yeah, thank you. So correct me if I'm wrong, it says planner 2 for Desiree. Is that her position?
So Desiree has recently been promoted to a planner 3 role.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
noticed.
Yes.
I thought it would be good to point that out because,
Yes.
again, another promotion that should be acknowledged perhaps. So
yes, there's certainly lots of movement and recognition of the level of work that is being done by city staff.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions for now?
Well, I'm going to start with a simple one. What can we do to increase the participation on this committee? Jenny is going to Craig Jarrett. Does that mean we don't have any representation from Royal Roads anymore? So why don't we have representation from Royal Roads? Okay. And regarding that and similar to that question, why don't we have representation from someone with the Coal Island Group? These are two major heritage sites within our municipality. Would it be inappropriate for me to approach someone from the Coal Island Group and see if they'd be interested in serving on this Heritage Commission?
I mean, we certainly are due for reviewing terms of reference. I would say the composition of the commission is dictated through the terms of reference that created the commission. So we'd be happy to elevate to council, like if there's a resolution from the commission to go forward to council tonight for a review of terms of reference and the composition, who's invited and how to expand membership. I think it's a recommendation from the commission to council that can be debated by council.
Thank you. Is there some particular time of the year when solicitations are made for seating on the commissions?
No, and I think this is one of the biggest challenges with our committees and commissions, that we currently do not have an expiry of the term of each members, and this is common throughout all of the commissions and committees of the city. And I very much hear your comment and point well taken. I think to invite diversity of opinion and voices there. Normally, it is best practice to have terms to committees and commissions so that you can serve for a 2-year period and then the membership is continually refreshing. That is commonplace in most municipalities. Unfortunately, we don't have that structure in terms of reference, generally speaking, but it is a known area where we need to improve. And as I said, I would welcome a recommendation from the commission to council to look at these opportunities.
Thank you. I believe heritage commissions are like heritage houses. They can suffer from neglect. And I would suggest that perhaps council might consider some action in this matter. Thank you.
Totally. So as part of our review, since it's been a while since we've connected with you, we wanted to just give you a brief update as to the heritage files and where they are at with the city. So as you are aware, there is development taking place at 468 Goldstream, and the Colwood Dairy and Cheese House has been relocated closer towards the front of the property to a parcel of land that is owned by the city. So as part of the rezoning of that property, there was a land transfer. So the land where that heritage structure sits is owned by the city of Colwood, and the building department is leading the conversations around restoration, conservation, and actualizing the plan that was approved as part of that rezoning application. We are working collaboratively to support advancing that work. It has been slow, but we are actively invested in continuing to support the property owner and developer, as well as looking to get more involved to expedite the state of conservation of that building.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question for Yazmin. So with respect to the cheese house, has there currently been any restoration work done since it's been moved? Because I just wanted to get some clarity because I believe it's in its final location now. So I was just wondering if there has been any work done just at this point. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question and through the chair. It really not much has changed since the building has moved. So in answer to your question, the new slab was installed, the building was moved, which was obviously one of the most challenging aspects of that project. So we were happy to see it in its final location. And right now it's there with a covering over the top. So we're keen to see that project keep moving along and are keeping an eye on the timelines and the overall project, including the dairy building. So commission may recall that we took quite a sizable deposit as well for that work. So, if that project was to go off the rails, the city could assume that work and has a budget to, or has a deposit we could work with to complete it ourselves. Hopefully it doesn't get to that stage, but that's where it's at right now.
Thank you, Byron. Just a follow-up question. Would you say that the move was successful? Like, getting actually moving it? Was there any damage or anything that it was a successful move?
Very successful.
That's great.
And I would say that with John Dam in the room.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
That
Thank you for that
was
update.
very challenging and interesting to see. So,
I bet.
yeah, most welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I may, one further question regarding the cheese house. The property is to be transferred to Colwood. Is that in progress or still pending?
The city of Colwood owns a fee simple lot where these dairy house sits. That is meant to be a park, like a park-like environment around the structure, so that at some point it will be inviting to the public to go and, um, yeah, sit nearby, take their pet in there, just enjoy. It is the size of a single family lot. So it's basically it's close to 700 square meters. Um, and so it has a frontage on Goldstream, and it goes, yeah, it will look like a single family lot with these dairy house as the center point. Um,
Thank you. One further question then. A number of artifacts were uncovered during the removal of the building from its former site to the current one. Has there been an inventory of these artifacts? And are these artifacts now the property of the developer or of Colwood?
Yeah, thank you for the question. During the work that has been done so far, there were artifacts collected. Commission may recall when John Dam was here last time doing a presentation, there were things like marmalade jars and old alcohol containers. So got an eye into what that person was interested in. But in answer to your question, um, right now, I believe our heritage consultant is in possession of those artifacts that have been found. And it would be the city's property is my understanding. I don't see, we would have to double check this, but I don't see why the developer would hold on to those artifacts. So it would either be, I'm assuming it would be in the city's possession, but we could confirm that detail.
Thank you. That answers that question. Certainly, artifacts are very important to the history of the cheese house. And the difficulty with developers, sometimes they complete a project and sometimes they don't, and things fall into question rather quickly when they don't.
Yeah, appreciate that. So the location where the building was previously, any sort of artifacts that were collected as part of that move have been stored. So we've collected everything from that portion at least. And then obviously keeping an eye, the site's been excavated quite a bit now at this point, but keeping an eye on the whole site in general for further artifacts. So.
The second project that the commission reviewed last year was the Pendry House and the heritage designation bylaw. So that was introduced to the commission on November of last year, and the bylaw designating the Pendry House a heritage building was adopted by council on March of this year. So that work is complete and the designation is in place. The third project that is forthcoming for the commission's review and comment is the cemetery management plan project. This was introduced to council on June 13 of 2024. That might have been the introduction to the commission. And the project is well underway. It is a project being managed by our corporate services team, as they are the function within the city that does our booking and facilities management at the moment. So they have engaged a consultant to put together a management plan, and we anticipate that that draft document will come to the commission in September, where And I apologize because I'm not following the slides because it's not my presentation, it's Matt. I did not put this together. But yeah, it is. We don't have, well, Marcy is here, and Marcy is the lead in the cemetery management plan project. So if there are any questions or comments regarding that, the timeline or the scope of that project, then I'm sure she'll be happy to share.
Thank you, Councilor Olsen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question with the Pendray House. I just wanted to know if a maintenance plan has been developed with the property owner. And how does the city ensure compliance with these types of properties?
Yeah, no, there is no maintenance obligations associated with the bylaw. I mean, there is a requirement to maintain in case of development. So there's very clear specifications of the details or like the elements that are essential for preservation. The vast majority of heritage designated buildings, you create an incentive for maintenance as opposed to a requirement for maintenance, especially when nothing is taking place. There isn't necessarily a trigger, like there's no development. There is, yeah, I suppose if we were to see it in, when you compare it to the dairy building, for instance, that it's, I would say, in a state of disrepaired or like unkept and unmaintained for a number of years, I would say that Pendray House is.
But there's no, and I'm just asking because
Yes.
I don't actually know.
Yes.
There's no like onus on the property owner to maintain it. So technically, they could just neglect it, like you mentioned earlier, and it just falls into disarray and becomes an eyesore. And it's quite sad to think that we wouldn't have a maintenance schedule or a bylaw of something that holds them accountable to maintain the integrity of the building. So if that's not happening, I think it's something we need to consider. I don't know what the rules are with that. So I'm just bringing that up because I was thinking about that. It would just be sad to see something just fall apart and there's no ownership there on that. So I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on it, but
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think there is wording in that particular Pendray House bylaw that states they need to keep it up, including the fireplace inside, the heritage features inside. It mentions quite a bit of the exterior, the roof, the whole thing. There's a basic. Anyway, I stand to be corrected, but I'm pretty sure there's something in the wording that we passed.
Yeah.
Well, I don't, the schedule in terms of specifics, no, and there's room for tightening it up, I'm sure, but there is some there. But anyway, I was going to mention Ron Aubrey, who is involved with this new sign that appears at Pioneer Cemetery, and that sign is installed, was asking that when the picture shows the Pioneer Cemetery name entrance, but to the right, as you look at it, there's another sign curved down to the right, and it's blank right now. And his intention, and he thought, or what he'd like to see, is the lettering established and the year added to that sign. And I didn't know if that was part of the plan or whatever, and I don't have any formal request from him, but he did mention that, and I thought it sounded reasonable. However, just thought I'd mention that today because he spoke to me about it about a week ago. I was at a meeting, I saw him there.
I'm just wanted to speak to that. I'm wondering if part of the cemetery plan, I feel like we've had conversations about there being some plaques or some information within that property. And so maybe there would be an opportunity there to have the established date in some form. I don't know. I'll let Marcy speak to that, if there was already something in the works potentially, or if we're speaking too soon.
So through the chair, thank you. I believe that that is going to be one of the items that's addressed in the cemetery management plan, looking at the possibilities of signage to make sure that it aligns with the heritage value of the site. So there will be a specific section that will be coming forward, and I believe that that will be coming forward to the Heritage Commission in September. Once it goes to the Heritage Commission, we're looking for feedback on the plan prior to it going to council for approval. And until that time, we were hoping not to do any major changes within that site to allow council to have time to review the recommendations from the consultant. Yes, I think I will just skip ahead because I think Marcy has briefly provided kind of the timeline as we reference is likely September that we will bring it back to the commission for commentary and review. Matt put a lot more details in there in your presentation for you, but I'm sure you've read them. I think one of the other aspects as we were reviewing kind of how to best support the function of the commission, we in reading through the terms of reference as well as understanding the meeting frequency and structure. So the terms of reference of the commission speak to a frequency that is meetings should be set on an as needed basis. However, at the beginning of the term, like when the commission had a resolution that established a meeting schedule with calls, which called for a 6 meeting per year requirement. And so we want to bring it back to the commission, back to the terms of reference that see the function of the commission to be on an as needed basis. And the we have not been able over the past 3 years, we have not met the 6 times per year that were established once upon a time, and that perhaps going back to the terms of reference and scheduling these meetings on an as needed basis would minimize maybe frustration or disappointment when the meetings are canceled because there is a lack of content or there's nothing to advance to preset dates for the commission. We rather give you a date when there is content and we can all plan to be here in advance and not have you earmark a calendar day that may not have or generate content. So this is just we would like your input and potentially a resolution to having remove the like override that resolution in 2020 and going back to the terms of reference and establishing eliminating the need for a specific number of meetings per year, but having meetings in an as needed basis.
Thank you. I'm gonna take a stab at this one because I understand where we're going with this and looking at reducing potentially the meetings. I think 6 meetings a year is maybe too many preset meetings, so I think we do need to review the terms of reference for this commission. My concern with just on an as needed basis is, you know, it may reduce our ability to build sort of momentum and or public interest in heritage preservation. I know we don't have a lot in Colwood that maybe warrant 6 meetings a year. But I just made some notes here that, you know, I was thinking about it would be nice to explore the commission's role in education or outreach within the community about heritage assets by way of like hosting some walking tours or, you know, things like this, and just connecting the community with some of the heritage properties that we do have. So I'm not really sure where I'm going with it, but I do agree. I think 6 meetings a year is maybe too much just based on the limited properties that we do have, but it's still important. And I feel like maybe just we do need to review that terms of reference, and I'm happy to put forward a recommendation. I'm just still on the fence about the as needed meetings. I don't want there to be a disconnect there with, and Marcy looks like she,
My apologies. I just wanted to mention that member Josh Christensen is wanting to speak as well.
okay, yeah. I'll yield to John.
Thanks, and thanks for the opportunity to jump in. I agree with everything that was just said about moving to as needed as a basis. I do feel 6 meetings is too many, but I really feel like this commission could lean in more on that heritage promotion and education side of things. I also feel like leaving it to a completely ad hoc or as needed sort of meeting structure, it's easy to lose the thread on some of the things that have come up. So, you know, for example, I really appreciated the update that came today for the dairy building. I appreciate the update that came for the Pendray building. I appreciate there's an update that's going to come on the cemetery as well. But it's hard if it's at an as needed basis to remember if, for example, the building move is on schedule. I think that if we had something that's a little more routine or a little bit more scheduled in advance, when we could get updates about like adherence to project schedules and costs and all those sorts of things, it might help us just keep on top of that a little bit more.
Ready? Thank you. I realize I'm echoing the comments that have already been made. I do think that 6 meetings a year, as we've gone through with the commission, does turn out to be too many. But I agree with Josh in that ad hoc meetings run the risk of things being dropped and just forgotten about. I also want to remind the commission of the couple of years we spent building the heritage plan. And I believe there was some structural things in there for the commission to look at and work on, and it included things like those walking tours and actual kind of bringing the commission in and the expertise that you have within the membership of the commission to actually use us to develop things. It shouldn't all fall on the staff at Colwood City Hall to do all of the work. Like, we're here to help, we want to help, and where we're not brought in for meetings and we're not kind of kept up to date on what's happening, it makes it very difficult for us to bring our enthusiasm to these projects and to actually contribute.
I echo everything that Josh and Jenny said. I was going to ask about the plan. That was one of the 2 reasons I initially put up my hand, because we did spend a lot of time, the commission with the heritage consultant, working on the plan, and then it disappeared. I don't know what happened. And the other thing I was going to say about ad hoc meetings, and this is a very selfish thing to say, but it's really difficult for me if I don't have a meeting in my calendar on a certain day. My calendar is such that if I don't know and you call me and say, can we meet next week? Most likely I will have to say no, because I will already be booked. So even, I think 6 meetings is too much, but you know, if we had regular dates, if it was 4 times a year and they were in our calendar at a certain time, for me, as a small business owner, that is a lot easier.
All right. I tend to agree. I think that if we were to reduce it to, you know, a meeting every quarter, and then in the event that we, you know, at least it's in everybody's calendar, because I agree, you don't want to just the ad hoc. You may not get the attendance and you may not have a commission. So if, at least if the meetings are in there and there is absolutely nothing no activity, you know, meetings can be canceled. Yeah, so I'm not sure what to do here now, except for maybe make a recommendation that we move to 4 meetings a year. And, you know, in the event that, yeah, if there's no activity, then there's no activity. And that can be communicated to the commission and we can cancel a meeting if needed. But I think that if we do ad hoc, I fear that we just will lose the interest of the commission. And that excitement, like you said, is gone and you won't have that same engagement. And, you know, so I think it's an important commission. So I think, yeah, that is my recommendation. However, it needs to be worded.
If I may, I tend to agree, 4 meetings a year is not onerous. And I think that in regards to when, we should set dates. It's easy enough to say that certain months of the year on a Tuesday afternoon, we're going to have a meeting. And then it's easier for our mutual calendars to then put that into accord. We have some questions that never seem to come up. And we have a list that I got when I moved here in 2019 of heritage buildings. How many of those are still on the list? We have no way of knowing. They could be demolished or in the process of development. We have no way of knowing. I don't advocate a heritage registry for Colwood. There's some legal problems arising from registries that I don't think Colwood would want to face, or the homeowners on the registry would want to face. But I think we have a list and we should maintain and circulate it in some way so that the public can look at the list. I also think that you have to engage with the homeowners on a list to say, you live in a house that is significant to your municipality. How can we help you? Things like that. Engage the public a little bit more. So certainly 4 meetings is not overly problematic. I think we should schedule that. Sorry about that. Here we go.
Go ahead, Marcy.
Oh, thank you through the chair. I have a suggestion that at the next meeting of the Heritage Commission, we can bring forward a schedule with those 4 dates proposed, so you can actually see a schedule and approve a schedule. But I think it's a good idea to actually put a motion through for the 4 meetings. And just as a reminder, the chair can call a commission meeting if required with a minimum of 2 days notice. So at any time that you have some business that you need to deal with, you can call a special meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, I was going to say, so what you're still looking for a recommendation to rescind? Do we need to do that?
I think it's a good recommendation to put in that the commission would like to change to 4 scheduled meetings per year.
To 6.
And that's from 6
Sorry.
to 4. I think that's what I heard. And then staff will come back to the next Heritage Commission with a list of possible dates for your approval.
Okay, so you need a motion for that then.
That would be great.
So I'll
Thank
make
you.
that motion,
Thank you.
please. And you don't need a seconder, I don't think. So
Need a seconder for the motion?
you don't.
Any discussion on the motion? Motivation? We just need a motion to, oops, I'm sorry.
I would just like to add, thank you, Chair. I would just like to add, I think that I had some experience with the Environment Committee where we were struggling with a lack of material for some meetings that were canceled and felt a little bit underutilized, which I kind of heard, I think, in earlier comments. And I feel that it's a problem simply in that it's just a flow issue. It's not there's no bad intent anywhere. It's kind of like a good problem to have, actually. And so I'm not sure the procedure, Marcy, you could correct me, but I think there's a opportunity that if an email is sent to mayor and council or into the city, and then it gets onto an agenda with council, council then can refer that item to the commission for the agenda. Is that right, Marcy? Have I got that pretty much right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
it gets
so
forwarded.
if you have, I would encourage anyone, you're talking to any resident in Colwood or anywhere in Canada for that matter, comes up with an idea or would like to dig deeper into something, to please just bring it forward, write that letter, mayor and council at colwood.ca, the email goes through to everybody. And all you need is one councillor, one person on council kind of pick that up, or I don't know if the staff sees that, how it gets put on the agenda. Just as an item on the agenda to be referred to the commission to deal with. It might generate a little more activity to flesh out these meetings and then feel like we have more to contribute. And I'm not sure what those things might look like, of course, but anyway, I just want to make that comment because it's sort of that niggling away. I hate it when I don't hate it. There's no hate involved. It's disappointing or it's difficult when you find competent, professional, well-intended, knowledgeable, good people looking to help, and then there's not enough to do. It's like I say, a good problem, but we need to get that flow happening more loosely or something. Thank you.
Don? Thank you. From the discussion, I had two questions. If the supporting staff could provide the committee with an update on the heritage plan that we talked about. I think Ian spoke about it. The last I recall was there was going to be consultation with First Nations. So just an update on where the heritage plan is. And the second was I was interested in the potential list of heritage sites, that if we could get that list, members could do some investigation and swing around to see these various buildings. I know there is an attractive John DeCastry building around the corner that sold privately a couple of years ago and had some renovations done to it. I think it's used as an office now. So it's on Whale Road. Some of these buildings deserve more study, and we have some expertise on the committee that can look into these things. So that was the second one, if we could get a list of those buildings that were identified some years ago. And it would be handy if that list was attached to the possibly the minutes of this meeting, so we don't have to wait because summer is a good time to swing around and look at buildings. And the third thing was just an announcement of the somewhat heritage events that are taking place at Royal Roads University. It's this year is the 85th anniversary of the site being used as a Navy and military training center. And in October, there'll be some events there organized by the retired military members, as well as there's a substantial homecoming in September when the last graduating class from 1995 is attending, and they're approximately 80 to 85% of their graduates are coming. So Colwood will see possibly, I don't know, several hundred people coming to the homecoming and being entertained out at Royal Roads. So those are two events that, so 95 is also the anniversary of the closure of the site. And 1975 was the anniversary of degree granting. So there's quite some events that one can recognize. 75 to 2025 is 50 years, I think. So 85, 50, and 30 are some of the events this year out of railroads. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Don. Appreciate that.
Could I add a few clarifications or responses, offer some information for the commission? So just so you know, so the list of the buildings of interest lives with the planning department. And so we are well aware of the list of properties. We have it in our GIS system. So when we do receive a building permit or a development permit or rezoning application, the first check that we do is, are they part of this list? Because we have a council resolution that says anytime we get a demolition permit or a rezoning application on one of those properties, we are to refer that application to the commission. So I just want to reassure you that this list is actively looked upon, and we consider every application that comes through the planning department. This is our pre-application intake review. Does it have an archaeological value? Is it in the list of heritage buildings? So that is just to give you some assurance that the list is acted on. It doesn't sit without action, and we'll be happy to share it. I will check to see if it's publicly available on the website, because it is no secret, or it shouldn't be. It's not an internal list. It is publicly available, or should be publicly available, but internally we do actively use it and reflect on it on a regular basis. Regarding the heritage plan, I will have to come back to the commission with an update on that. What I can tell you is that our engagement with the nations is currently focused on the National Urban Park and the waterfront stewardship plan. That is where the interest and energy from the nations lies. And so they lead the conversations on the topics that are of priority, of where they see their resources and staff capacity to be top priority, and that is waterfront and conversations with Parks Canada. So we engage with them, I would say, regularly every 2 months, and meet with them, but the conversations are focused on waterfront archaeology and Fort Road Hill, as that has their attention at the moment. So we follow their lead on the topics that they wish to engage with us on. But we will offer for sure an update on where the plan sits at, and then the commission can recommend a different path if you choose to. It's just at this point, if engagement with the nations on this topic is paramount, it's not top of their priority, even if it's important for City of Colwood. But we'll bring back in September an update on where that sits. That heritage plan also is not a budget item, so it is not contemplated within the 2025 work plan of the department. The heritage registry, however, and I appreciate what Chair Johnson is mentioning, that there's some concerns or legal implications to having a formalized registry. But that heritage registry was in fact part of the 2025 budget of council. It was a special initiative. However, with our restructuring and the vast majority of our staff complement are working on delivering mandated legislated changes to our official community plan and land use bylaw. So these heritage registry work has been deferred to 2026. So those are some additional updates. So the heritage plan is not a budgeted item that was scheduled to come back for action this year, but I will certainly offer an update come September. And the heritage registry was deferred to 2026 when we have more capacity to engage on that conversation.
Thank you very much. When I moved to Colwood in 2019, I obtained a copy of the list through Ian Boardhill and promptly walked around and biked around the entire list and took photographs to see how many were on the list that actually still existed. And perhaps I should just do that again for my own satisfaction and do as I did, create a spreadsheet and send it into the young man that's taking Ian's place in this process. The lists are how we start preserving heritage. You can't save what you don't know. And the list itself was probably made, I believe, in 1988. If I remember correctly, it's an old list. So we haven't really spent a lot of time or assets on updating it to see if there was other things that we might consider. Colwood is a new and growing community. And a lot of staff and council time is taken up in dealing with the land matters that a new and growing community has. But it would be regretful to lose some of the assets and links to the past in the process of growing. Thank you. Any further comments? Any further discussions? I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. So moved, seconded, and approved. Thank you.